We can wear them anytime in the next month, Carol.
That's right. It's not the Christmas cheer I was hoping for.
Where did you say you went for
That's going to break out the schnapps.
Okay, so we're going to do some adoption of minutes first, and that would be the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of November the 21st, 2016, and the regular open minutes of November the 21st. Sorry, did I say the 12th? November 21st, 2016. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg. All in favor? Thank you. Business arising from prior minutes, and there was a motion, IC 241-16, from the closed meeting from this morning, re the Gyro Park washroom. And the motion was moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Rhodes, that Council direct administration to close the Gyro Park washroom for the winter season. And that was carried, and Councillor Rhodes is going to explain what that means.
Thank you, Member.
Okay.
Excuse me. Over the last 6 to 8 years, we have invested a fair amount of resources and money in infrastructure amenities in our community. We've done a lot of trail development, and we are actively engaged in future development. If anybody remembers, we just paved that section of the trailway that goes from right beside the high school down across the top of the canal area, down underneath the bridge and that kind of thing. The current council is very much engaged in walkability and trails and that kind of thing, and we see a vision in the future. When our residents go out and walk on our trails and that kind of thing, one of the pitfalls of walking is not having washrooms available. And everybody, depending on what your demographic is, feels really good about having lots of washrooms available. As you are aware, we've added a brand new washroom in the last few years to Goodman Park, one down by the marina, and of course our main one at Gyro Beach. 2 meetings ago, Council passed a resolution to keep the Gyro Beach washroom facility open in its entirety for residents and walkers in our community to have a place to stop and use the washroom if it's necessary. If you've been in there, it's a beautiful washroom, it's clean, serves all of our community needs, and we have invested taxpayer money in that facility for that particular reason. Over the last year and a half or so, we had a major vandalism, fire-related incident in that washroom. We got that all repaired. Just to follow the timeline, 2 meetings ago we passed to keep it open. In the last 3 to 4 weeks that it's been open, we've had some dreadful things that have happened in that facility down there. The full gamut of all of the things that can happen, from throwing the garbage all over the inside of the building, taking all of the toilet paper out and throwing it all over the place. A staff member went in there to clean, and there was 2 needle drug users in there just finishing up. They got scared, they ran out, left their needles and the drugs there. I can't even begin to tell you how horrible that would be if somebody was to stumble across that, like a young kid or something like that. Actively engaged in sexual activities in there, and they've all been, and these are not speculation, these are documented people that have caught these individuals doing it. Beer drinking, sleeping, all of the nasty things that you could ever think in there. So I've been given this opportunity to rant because it's something that, that I did not want to be a part of. I was hoping that it would stay open. And we've had to close it because, the danger because of the drugs, the unsavory characters that hang around there and that kind of thing is not a very desirable thing for people to be confronted with on a daily basis. And So it is going to be closed. It'll remain permanently closed until the springtime when we reopen it again as we would. And it's a very, very regrettable thing. And my point is that the actions of a few uncaring and unsavory characters, I mean, there's not a whole bunch of them, have affected the greater good of our community. And this is something that we did not want to do, but we are doing because we cannot, subject our residents and the people that are using that to those types of things any longer. And the final thing that I would like to say is that it's resident tax money that keeps that place clean and running, and we have to stop that process because staff is having to go down there, clean up all these messes all the time, in addition to the regular cleaning up down there. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, how bad, a few people in our community have ruined that particular thing for everybody for the rest of the year. So that would be my little rant for today. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rhodes. And we all agreed this morning that that was our only option, was to close it for now until the washrooms become open again in the spring. So well said. Thank you very much.
We need a motion to bring it into the minutes.
I was going to do them both. Do I need to do them individually? Separately? Okay. Thank you. We need a motion then to bring this into minutes. Thank you, Councillor. Campbell, Councillor King. They've all changed seats, you see. We changed them. That's why I'm confused. It doesn't take much. All in favor? Thank you. Now, the next in-camera motion that is coming out was also from this is from a closed meeting on October the 17th, EDAC committee membership, and the following motion will be received into the regular open meeting today, that council appoint, moved by Councillor Rhodes, seconded by Councillor Campbell, council appoint Greg Soul to the Economic Development Advisory Committee as the Town of Osoyoos appointee for a 3-year term, and that was carried. So do we need to bring that in too? I need a motion to bring that in. Thank you, Councillor Youngberg, Councillor Rhodes. All in favor? Thank you. Introduction of late items, and it will be that the Osoyoos Airport Development Request for Support be added as business item number 12, and that the agenda of December the 5th be adopted as amended. Somebody make that motion. Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell, Councillor Rhodes. All in favor? Thank you. Are we okay? Mrs. Hilson, thank you. Okay, next on our list is bylaws. And first is the Municipal Ticket Information Bylaw. Let me get that on here. And that would be Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. Council adopted Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw number 1316, 2016 at its regular meeting of November 21st, 2016. Fines must now be attached to the various regulations in the bylaw through the Municipal Ticket Information Bylaw. Since the Cat Control Bylaw was amalgamated into the Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw, Schedule 4 of the current MTI Bylaw is being removed through this amendment. Schedule 1 is being amended to reflect the elimination of Schedule 4, and Schedule 6 is being replaced with a new Schedule 6, which reflects all infractions under the new Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw. The infractions that are the same under the previous cat control and dog control bylaws continue to have the same fines attached. Other fines were based on the severity of the offense, with some being based on fines in other municipalities. The maximum fine amount permitted under Section 265 of the Community Charter is $1,000. Implications to the community: the ability to enforce bylaws through a fine system. Organizationally, the enforcement of the bylaw. No budget implications. Significant dates: this bylaw should be adopted as soon as possible, as currently there is no ability to fine for offenses under the new Animal Control and Licensing Bylaw. And sustainability: continuation of enforcing our bylaws. And the options are that Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw number 1279.10 2016 be read a first, second, and third time, or that 2, that it be returned to staff for changes, or 3, that it be abandoned, and staff recommend option 1. If council wishes to change some of the fines at this meeting, they may do so and then give the 3 readings to the bylaw directly afterwards.
Thank you very much. Council, anybody like to make Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'll move that Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw number 1279.10 of 2016 be read a first, second, and third time.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Youngberg, seconding that. Anyone wish to speak to that? We have gone through this a couple of times, and thank you, Ms. Van Vienen, for putting this together, and I think we've all agreed that this was a good way to handle it. All in favor of that? Thank you very much. Next is the Waste Management Services Amendment Bylaw. That would be Mr. Zackel, please.
Thank you. So before Council's Waste Management Service and Regulation Amendment Bylaw 1309.02 2016. Background: to review and update Waste Management Services and Regulations Bylaw. This bylaw was established to set regulations for services to collect and dispose of solid waste, recyclable materials within the town of Osoyoos, and for materials accepted at the Osoyoos Sanitary Landfill. Amendment Bylaw 1309 or 1309.02 is being brought forward for Council's consideration. At the our town's landfill, we have a contractor that comes in to recycle mattresses and box springs to ensure any recyclable materials do not go into the active phase. There is a fee of $7.50 per box spring or mattress that is charged, and we pay the contractor the same rate. There has been no rate increase for the service since we began recycling these items. Our contractor has put us on notice that their rate is increasing to $10 per box spring and mattress. To ensure the recycling of these items is fully funded, a rate change is required in our Waste Management Service and Regulations Bylaw. Implications under community: continued effort for waste diversion at the Osoyoos Sanitary Landfill to extend the lifespan of for our residents. Organizationally, there's no changes required. Budget: this would ensure no additional cost for recycling of mattresses or box springs. Significant dates: bylaw needs to be adopted prior to the rate coming into effect. Sustainability: continued effort for protecting the environment, reduction of waste, and financial sustainability. Options before Council: give first 3 readings to Waste Management Services and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 1309.02 2016. Option 2, to make further changes to Amendment Bylaw 1309.02. And Option 3, to not change Bylaw 1309.01 at 2016 at this time. And a recommendation from staff is for Council to go with option number 1.
Thank you very much. Councillor Campbell?
I'll move option number 1.
Thank you. Second. Yes, it seems to make perfect sense, so that's all in favor. Thank you very much, Mr. Zackel.
Thank you.
Next is the DCC bylaw. Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you. Report number 5 on our new DCC bylaw. The Provincial Inspectorate has finally approved our new DCC bylaw, and staff is requesting that Council give it final adoption. At the province's request, the new bylaw contains a number of revisions paired with an earlier version. A, we have carried forward our current election into the new bylaw of not exempting developments with fewer than 4 dwelling units from paying DCCs. However, rather than simply leaving this out of the list of permitted exemptions, as we do in our current bylaw, we responded to a provincial request by adding a Section 4 into the general body of the bylaw that explicitly excludes developments with less than 4 dwellings from paying DCCs. B, a wording clarification was added in Schedule A of the bylaw that a Parkland DC charge of $1,992 is payable per each motel and hotel unit. There's no change, it's just a clarification of wording. C, our earlier bylaw calculated DC charges on the basis of 16 infrastructure projects need to accommodate our projected population growth up to 2025, and I should say beyond in many cases. Unfortunately, the province required that we delete one of these projects, i.e. 4.1, demand management to increase water supply service, which would have allowed us to collect DCCs to assist implementing universal water metering by 2021. This deletion reduces our potential collectible DCCs by $1.5 million. However, if the province does subsequently agree that water metering can be an eligible DCC charge, we are advised that the town could pass a minor DCC bylaw amendment to add our project back in. Largely because of deleting our water metering project, the value of most collectible DCCs will be somewhat lower under our new bylaw compared with the current one, as shown in the following table. And I especially draw your attention to the normal benchmark for comparing DCCs, which is for low-density residential per dwelling or lot. And so under our current bylaw, it's $9,663. Under the new bylaw, it will be reduced to $9,270. Options: council adopts our new bylaw, council requires further revisions. Implications. Community. Council convened an advertised public meeting for interested persons on July 4th, but did not receive any presentations or submissions. Organizational Planning and Development Services collects DCCs as part of development application processes. Budget. The benchmark DCC charge of $9,270 for low-density residential uses in our new bylaw is still more than Summerlin and Oliver, but considerably less than West Kelowna, Peachland, and Penticton. Significant dates. Because DCC charges are lower under our new bylaw compared with the current bylaw, no transitional policies are required to give a grace period for any in-stream development applications. Simply, from this date forward, all current subdivision building applicants will pay the new reduced DCC rates when due. And I should note that there's no DCC charges that are currently overdue. Sustainability. Our DCC bylaw will support modernizing and expanding our community infrastructure to provide high-level quality services to residents and visitors and to support and promote future growth. Recommendation. Staff recommends council give final adoption to new DCC bylaw number 1322-216. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, would you like to speak to this? Councillor King?
Yeah, could you just ask me, when you said compared to 9,270 for low density, that we're higher than Oliver, do you know approximately how much higher we are?
I did when I looked it up. I can't remember, but not much. Okay, it's marginally different.
Okay.
I can get that number to you separately, though.
I just want to make sure we're open for business here in town.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We're down, so we're charging them less. So
No, we're up. We're more than Oliver.
yeah, we're slightly more. Yeah, so it must be just a little bit.
Well,
Councillor King or Youngberg.
I'll make the motion that we make the final adoption of the new DCC bylaw number 1322, 2016.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that? I will second it then. Anybody wish to speak to this? Okay, all in favor of doing this, accepting the bylaw? Thank you very much. That's carried. Next is the development variance permit application, and that would be Ms. Wong. Thank you.
Thank you. So the current development variance permit proposal by the applicants is to vary two sections of the town's sign bylaw number 1282/2012, namely section 20H, to permit the retention of a prohibited roof sign, and variance number 2 is to vary section 21 to permit not meeting the sign owner's signed agreements to remove a prohibited roof sign before the expiry date of the 3-year amortization period. So the purpose of this report is to request that council deny the requested variances and the issuance of development variance permit number 16-02, which is attached. So to provide an overview of the site context and proposal, the applicant has submitted a development variance permit application to vary the town of Osoyoos sign bylaw number 1282/2012 in order to facilitate the retention of a prohibited roof sign on the building located at the property municipally addressed as 11611 on 115th Street. Located within the Buena Vista Industrial Park, the existing building on the subject property is currently used as an indoor model railroad tourist attraction, that is the Osoyoos Desert Model Railroad. In 2014, Council approved a site-specific zoning bylaw amendment to legalize the indoor model railroad tourist attraction use that would otherwise have been prohibited under the M1 General Industrial Zone. Moving on to policy context. As per Section 20 of the Sign Bylaw number 1282/2012, sign owners are required to remove any prohibited signs within 30 days of receiving notice for removal from the building inspector. However, for prohibited animated signs or roof signs existing as of the bylaw's effective date, owners have the option of amortizing such signs for a period of up to 3 years in accordance with Section 21 of the bylaw. And Section 21 states that a sign owner may elect to amortize an animated sign or roof sign prohibited under Section 20 existing at the effective dates of this bylaw for a period of up to 3 years, subject to them A, replying within 30 days of receiving initial notification from the building inspector that they wish their sign to continue for all or parts of the amortization period. Subsection B, not altering the prohibited sign in any way during the amortization period, except to improve its structural safety or to replace its face with another commercial message, and not replacing it with another prohibited sign. Subsection C, at least 6 months prior to the expiry of the amortization period, submitting plans to the building inspector showing how they will bring their signage into complete conformity with the bylaw. Subsection D, completely removing the prohibited sign and any supporting structure by the expiry date of the amortization period. And subsection E, complying with all other provisions of this bylaw. Osoyoos Desert Model Railroad entered into an agreement with the town on August 9, 2013 by signing a prohibited sign amortization agreement, which includes the conditions outlined above from Section 21. While sign owners were originally required to remove any prohibited animated or roof signs prior to the end of the 3-year amortization period on July 22, 2016, the date was extended to September 30th, 2016 to avoid conflict with the summer tourist season as discussed in the March 7th, 2016 regular council reports. Moving on to analysis. In accordance with the town's council policy on considering development variance permits, council should consider the following criteria when reviewing the proposed DVP application. 1, hardship, 2, impacts, and 3, the viewpoints of neighbors. And the policy is attached as attachment 4. Staff's review comments with respect to these criteria are detailed below, and I will go into them. So for number 1, hardship. With respect to hardship, Planning and Development Services is of the opinion that refusal of the variances will not result in undue hardship for the applicant. The subject property and building do not have peculiar physical characteristics that would make it difficult for signage to comply with the sign bylaw provisions. In addition to the roof sign, the property already has a number of commercial signs, including fascia signs, fence signs, and a couple of freestanding signs that appear to have been installed fairly recently. And there are photos included in attachment 5. The Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure has also erected 2 service and attraction signs specifically for the attraction as well. It should also be noted that the other 9 roof sign owners have already either removed or agreed to remove their signs. So for the Adriatic Motel, Desert Oasis Realty, Golden Chopsticks Restaurant, Jojo's Cafe, Mommy's Pizza, Osoyoos Pizza Factory, and Wildfire Grill, these businesses have all removed their signs already. For the Richter Pass Motor Inn, the sign will be removed by December 16th to accommodate filming on the property. And for the Riviera Motel, the sign will be removed with arrangement with Fortis BC due to proximity of the sign to power lines. In terms of impacts, the requested variances do not meet the intent of the sign bylaw. The bylaw provisions for allowing the amortization of roof signs were intended to ease the transition to conforming signage for sign owners while ensuring that the prohibited signs were phased out over the 3-year amortization period. Since the applicant had already signed an agreement acknowledging the outlined stipulations, including the removal of the roof sign and any supporting structure by the expiry date of the amortization period, the current variance proposal would renege on the agreement's conditions. In terms of viewpoints of neighbors, in accordance with the town's Land Use Procedures Bylaw number 1235/2007 and the Local Government Act, development application signage has been installed on the subject property, and individual notices were mailed to all owners and tenants within 60 meters of the subject property. At the time of writing this report, there were no written submissions received from the public regarding the development variance permits application. However, any submissions received by the December 2nd deadline would be presented at today's council meeting, and all interested persons would also be given the opportunity to be heard on this matter during this council meeting. In terms of implications to the community, as mentioned previously, in accordance with the council policy on considering development variance permits, council shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to be heard and to present any written responses with respect to the variance proposal. Organizationally, planning and development services extended an offer to assist all roof sign owners with transitioning between prohibited and new replacement signage. In terms of budget, council resolved to waive the sign permit fees for owners wishing to replace their roof signs with allowable signage on March the 7th, 2016. In terms of significant dates, September 30th, 2016 was the expiry date of the 3-year amortization period. In terms of options, option number 1, that council deny the variances and the issuance of development variance permit number 16-02. Option number 2, that council approve the variances and authorize the issuance of the permit. Option number 3, that council authorize the issuance of the permit with amendments. And option number 4, that council recommend any other action deemed appropriate. And staff's recommendation is option number 1 for the following reasons. The sign owner already signed an agreement with the town to retain a roof sign for a period of 3 years, subject to meeting the conditions of Section 21 in the sign bylaw. There is no case of hardship associated with the proposal. The property and building are able to accommodate other types of signage that conforms with the sign bylaw, and most of the roof signs for other businesses have already been removed. And the variances do defeat the intent of the sign bylaw. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hung. We appreciate all the detail that you went into this issue, and so that we have all the information in front of us. I'm going to ask now if there's anyone wishing to come up to the microphone and speak on this matter. Okay. Would you please state your name and address before you... Thank you.
My name is Roger Agostino, and I own a building that is right beside it, 11613. As far as the sign goes, it affecting me, it doesn't really affect me. I just see that every other business, and in the wintertime, businesses do struggle to make ends meet at the end, and they've complied, and they've made ends, they made it happen. So I don't see why we should maybe make exceptions one more time for this business. It seems like everyone else seems to comply and do what they're supposed to do, and it doesn't seem to matter to this guy. So,
thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Mr. Peterson.
I'm Paul Peterson for the Osoyoos Desert Model Railroad. and I have chosen former Mayor Tom Shields to speak on behalf of me.
No problem.
And then
Thank you.
He has some packages for you all, and for those of you who don't know me, I was a mayor for 3 terms of the town, president of Wilma for 1, and I think you all agree that I don't get involved, and everybody on doing this sort of thing does their own thing. However, back, I guess, close to 2 months ago, Paul said that he was having, and I'd known about his ongoing problems with his sign, and he said he was going to get a meeting with council, and would I please speak on his behalf, and I said yes. Then he called me up and he said we weren't getting a meeting with council, and it was just the writing here that said, in response to your request to appear before town council regarding a variance, the town CAO has noted that a delegation request to address this matter is not an appropriate avenue. As a result, the CAO has directed Planning and Development Services staff to look into other potential options to consider your variance requests. Staff has reviewed whether an application for development variant permit will be made, and it goes on to basically say what we just heard there, that it is unlikely. So I thought that maybe now it'd be a good time to hear. I really got upset when I read about the fact that you were being denied access to council. And I exploded, and I went and I talked to Councillor Rhodes, and it wasn't polite, and I really had to apologize. And you know, the next day I said to my wife, I said, I'm really sorry, because he's a good guy. And I didn't mean that, but you know, I went back and I said to the Petersons, I said, I really feel bad about talking to Councillor Rhodes that way, but Peterson said, well, don't feel bad because you finally got some reaction. He was not getting the ability to talk to people. So that's why I was concerned. So I thought, let's now, for everybody, come how long the Petersons have been involved through this office. I was the first economic director of the town of Osoyoos in 1981 and 82 and 83, at the time when interest rates were hovering around 17%. And I had a visit from Mr. Peterson, who had told me that he had shut down his office, sold his things in Denmark, his furniture manufacturing company, and he would like to come and immigrate to Canada and open a business here. I went to the council the day, Mayor Frost, and we had the support and went at it. So 2 years later, because his wife is in a wheelchair and has tough, but he needed a dry climate for her health. So he came here and he opened a furniture manufacturing company at Road 9. He remodeled a packing house and he employed about an average of about 112 people per year. In the late 90s, he downsized and went to the industrial park because the industrial park has the ability to live there. I know because I was the first person who put the survey together, and that's what we put in place because it was there for a safety device and also for protection for the industrial park to have people living there. But back in the 80s, I visited Mr. Peterson's house, and I saw in his basement he had a model train set. It blew me away, and I think Mayor Sue even took youngsters from the school to see it. So when he moved to the industrial park, it's not unnatural that this would morph into something else. Anyway, what happened was, as this happened, Destination Osoyoos, which was then called the Economic Development Office of Osoyoos, Glenn Manziuk worked. They did a study and they said, well, this would be more successful.
Sorry, with all due respect, Mr. Shields, I think we need to get to the point where we discuss the sign bylaw issue.
Well, I think I am coming to that, because I think when you're going to be reading what's in here, I have a thing here that a little contested. It said this was a letter received by Gail Scott, December 22nd, 2015. Now, why I'm coming to this, folks, is simply this. When a person from the town talks to a mayor, what the mayor says is referred to as gospel. So I'm coming back to this, and to get to the point, to get us to where we are, when he first ended up putting in the model railroad, destination Osoyoos, or Economic Development Officer Glenn Manziuk, then went and they got told of the mayor, and they said, basically, what are you doing? You can't do this when you open. So he was told to write out what he was doing on a slip, give it to the. At that time, it was the bylaw enforcement officer, Dennis Tomlin. So he went ahead and he did that, and they said you had to get a sign up on the road. Well, the town had to agree to the sign on the road. Glenn Manziuk went and got all the work done. So once that approved, there was no really any need for him to go and have that automatically put the fact of a tourist accommodation site in the industrial park. He was not trying to go around by anything. He would just develop something, and at that time he was representing the company. His wife was making figurines, and this is what happened. So now, he technically speaking, when the bylaws were then revisited, that would have just been a housekeeping aspect that puts the bylaw and says you've got your tourist accommodation in the industrial park. But he was asking about something. Paul already, we got a letter from Alan here, and I might say this has got a little tough, but a couple of weeks back, Paul talked to Alan, and Alan apologized because Alan said Paul already has an illegal sign on top of his building, so we're certainly not going to consider another sign off the highway unless he removes his roof sign, and the highway sign is part of a collective one for the benefit of other nearby businesses. Okay.
Excuse me, that's not the conversation which we had.
Well, I'm reading right here, okay? I'm just reading.
Yeah, but that's not what I said.
For your,
Excuse me, Tom, but you know, the only thing we're talking about here today is the sign on the roof, which doesn't comply with the sign bylaw. We have given him a variance to stay in the industrial park as a business and a home, which was done quite recently. That is not the problem. It's a wonderful business. We are very happy that the business is there. All we're saying is that they've signed that the three years ago that they would take the roof sign down. They were given the extra 3 years. There are plenty of signs around there that advertise the business. It's well known. He's TripAdvisor, I think, #1 on there. There's not a shortage of people that know about this business. We're saying all the 9 people have agreed that they will take the roof sign down, and we're just asking them to comply with that, and they've already agreed that they will. So I'm not quite sure.
Mayor Stu, if I could, when these things were happening, he went and talked to Mayor Stu Wells. And Mayor Stu Wells says, you're not going to have any problem. They did not want to sign this agreement. His wife says that right today. They thought it was under duress to sign that. They were under the impression if they didn't sign it, they were going to take the sign down. So there was really some problem. But they went to the mayor, and the mayor said, don't worry, you'll get a variance, sign the thing before July.
I'm sorry, I can't speak for the previous mayor.
I realize that.
Yeah, but I do think that what we've done is very carefully documented everything. We've looked at every option. We've bent over backwards to accommodate people in getting these signs down, and I really think that that's where we're at. It's not about the business and about the great business that the Petersons have up there. We appreciate it. It's wonderful. All we're saying is there are signs. We've done everything by the book. You have agreed and signed, whether it was under duress or not, that can't be proved, that the sign on top of your building needs to come down. And that's the only thing that we're talking about today. Tom, we understand how much people have done and what you've done and what the Petersons have done for this town. That is not under discussion, not at all. So I just think that we need to deal with this one issue, and that's it. And I'm sorry, and I understand you've done a lot of work on this, and I get it. You know, you've been in my position, so.
I have.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Anyway,
And-
I think
and
we
it-
need
and it
to.
is-
Yeah.
yes.
I think we need to get on with the issue at hand here, and we thank you for coming with Mr. Peterson and presenting this. So, Mr. King.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor King.
Mr. Cunningham, is our sign bylaw the same for industrial as it is for commercial downtown? Is it one and the same, or is it separate in the bylaw?
With certain types of signage and certain types of regulations, there's distinctions made essentially on a zoning basis. Actually, it's under the OCP. We use those designations. But in this particular case of the sign bylaw, we're talking about rules that automatically apply across the whole town. And I'm talking about prohibited signs. Okay? They are not allowed anywhere within town, and there's no difference with respect to any zone across our whole community in that regard.
Okay, then I guess would there be an opportunity to relook at our sign bylaw?
It's been done 10 times.
Downtown commercial?
If I don't recollect that you were a member of council at the time, but I have to emphasize and articulate that the process that we went through in terms of conceiving our sign bylaw was perhaps one of the most arduous at times, but it was also one of the most careful. We actually had 2 public hearings instead of 1. We received delegations from numerous people around town. Some of the merchants downtown actually hired or retained a sign consultant to speak on their behalf, and some of their suggestions were adopted and included in the bylaw. By the time we'd finished, we actually made 24 different changes to the sign bylaw compared to what we started with. So I think that talks to the seriousness with which we took the comments from the community and our flexibility in terms of responding to good points that were made.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just for clarity's sake, I am not looking at this as being a part of our sign bylaw. Our sign bylaw is very definitive, and we've gone through the process over the last 3 years of implementing and enforcing our sign bylaw. To me, this report is about the variance application that we have received. I don't think, for myself, I don't need any discussion about the bylaw. I was intimately involved in the entire process from the beginning. It was perhaps one of the most controversial things that we've ever done on council, and at the end of the day had tremendous positive impact on our community, in my opinion. Sitting in this chair as a councillor over the years, from time to time, we get variance applications that cover the full gamut of all of our bylaws and a lot of the scenarios that go on. I can remember some of them where there was an application to put a veranda over a road allowance that the town owned. And you know, at the end of the day, as ridiculous as it may sound, we approved the variance because there was extenuating circumstances and there were other variables that were very, very important. And that's how we come about with that opportunity to apply for a variance. As ex-Mayor Shields indicated, this has been I don't know, thrown around in my little brain for weeks now about what to do about it, because I have absolutely total loyalty towards our bylaws that we have. But you know, at the end of the day, stuff happens, and you gotta respect those opportunities that all of our residents have, and that's certainly with a variance. So I hope there's not too much of a gasp, but I'm going to offer a resolution based on option number 2 to approve the variance and authorize the issuance of the permit.
And I'll second.
Can I just
Yes.
Can I just interject here? I think the mayor has to ask if there's any more people that wish to speak.
I wondered when I would have to do that. So I'm going to ask if there is anyone else who would like to come and speak on this issue. I will ask for the second time if there's anyone who wishes to come and speak on this issue. And for the third time, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. Thank you. We will now entertain a motion. Councillor Rhodes, you have moved option number 2.
Yeah, my apologies. I thought we were done with
that's all right.
that process. So, yes.
And Councillor King has seconded that. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this on council? Okay. All in favor of that motion? Against? Thank you. That's carried. The variance has gone through. I have to, I know I may be the odd man out here, but I'm looking at following the bylaws, and I think that lots of things were done. So, well done. That has been allowed, and your variance is, and you will be allowed to keep your roof sign. Mr.
Yes, if I could just make one comment.
Yeah,
I have to respond to Mr. Shields' comments relating to the proponent's inability to address council. And this particular process, the variance process, is a legal process. Coming in front of council in terms of a development variance requires that council be totally neutral relative to any of the discussions on the topic area. So what the proponent has is they have their chance to come before council when they in fact are making their pitch for their variance. Anything else could be considered undue influence, and that's why the process is protected. The administration protects those processes because those are the processes that are outlined within our community charter, and that's, although it may seem somewhat unfair at some particular point in time, it needs to be duly addressed within the needed process. So
hence the reason for allowing them to do it today.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
On to the next item on our list, and that would be the expenses to the ORL for Councillor Youngberg of 100 and UBCM of 400. Could somebody please? Thank you. Councillor King. Councillor Campbell, all in favor of approving that? Thank you. Next is the Richter property subdivision. Mr. Cunningham.
Okay, so back to something completely different. Staff seeks council approval of the attached intensive residential development IRD permit for the Richter property subdivision, following some background context. This particular DP is referred to council because it lies outside the delegated powers of the Director of Planning and Development Services for approving development permits. Section 5A of our Land Use Procedures Bylaw requires all development permits for exterior building design go to council whenever they are associated with a zoning amendment, so that council can consider the development implications of the rezoning itself. Council already rezoned the town-owned Richter property in September 6th as part of our ALR exclusion process, and although no development permit had yet been prepared, they were fully apprised of the status of subdivision planning for the property at that time. Our intensive residential DP for the Richter property is of a new type for the town. It differs from our usual DPs under Section 488(1)(f) of the Local Government Act, LGA, which limits the scope of permit guidelines to the general, quote, form and character of buildings. By comparison, our intensive residential development IRD permit falls under the more recently added Section 488(1)(e) of the Act, which allows for more detailed and prescriptive guidelines to influence development. Why apply IRD guidelines? These special guidelines are the linchpin of the town's recently introduced form-based zoning approach, which will apply in place of more conventional zoning within boundaries of Council's Southeast Medlock Area Plan, including for the town-owned Richter property and nearby private properties when they develop. The one-size-fits-all numerical development standards of conventional zoning, e.g. building height, setback, and yard requirements, do not by themselves necessarily achieve good urban design. By comparison, form-based zoning, with its mix of text and graphic guidelines, can be used to more carefully shape the three-dimensional design of buildings and intervening private streetscape and public spaces. Form-based zoning is especially suited to the special design challenges we face building out Southeast Medlock with low-rise, largely ground-accessible housing types for meeting varied household needs, but sited relatively close to each other at medium densities to optimize land use. To implement this new approach, Council approved a new IRD zone listing allowable residential uses, but instead of including development standards, it cross-references the need to apply companion IRD permit guidelines from our OCP, and those are in Section 910 of the OCP. Overview: the Richter subdivision will see the first application of our form-based zoning approach using IRD permit guidelines inspired by those in our OCP. The town is acting as its own subdivision developer for selling 26 service building lots for home building, as well as coordinating overall project management. The town has an option to purchase agreement with Elcar Construction for their initial purchase of 4 lots, including 2 of the 4 eventual affordable units, as well as an option to purchase a further 16 lots and first right of refusal on the remainder 6 lots. Hart Bugnell of Elcar Construction has worked closely with architect Carlo Di Stefano with some town input on preparing design guidelines for the attached IRD permit, to which we now turn. Council's attention is drawn to the following provisions of the IRD permit. 1. The permit applies blanket requirements for the whole subdivision property, meaning that individual lot development permits will not be required prior to each building permit. Consistency will also be assured across the subdivision if builders other than Elcar purchase any remaining lots. And I should add that if in fact that transpires that there's another builder involved at some point or other, then they will also be required to sign a permit before they proceed with building. 2, the building guidelines allow a broad diversity of single-family housing types and exteriors. 4 lot types A, B, C, and D can each be built out with either or 2 house types 1, 2, 3, and 4, depending upon their respective lot widths. Thus, the narrow lot types A and B can accommodate either house types 1 or 2 with a single outside garage, while wider lot types C and D can accommodate either house type 3 or 4 with double inside garages. The one duplex building has its own plans. 3. In addition, 2 facade and stucco color options are available for each housing type to add even more diversity. See the last sheet in the permit package. It's the colored one. Okay, in total, the breadth of available choices will avoid a cookie-cutter appearance and will allow considerable leeway for the builder to follow their personal design preferences and respond to market demand. 4. The permit package covers both exterior elevations and interior floor plans and other details for each housing type. Development permits can only be applied to external appearance, so interior details are only indicative of what can be done at the builder's discretion and subject to a building permit. However, following the precept of form follows function, there's a necessary close relationship between interior and exterior design, especially in this case where building code fire restrictions on relatively narrow lots will strongly influence the size of window openings on flanking side walls, and hence the organization of the rooms behind them. The large amount of already completed design work will substantially reduce required timelines for final building design and permitting. Options: Council may 1. Approve intensive residential IRD permit number DP 16-07 as presented, or option 2. I'm getting there, it's okay. Option 2, require further revisions or clarifications. Impacts. Community. Our proposed form-based zoning approach based on IRD permits will assist achieving an attractive and saleable residential subdivision on our Richter property, as well as set the tone for subsequent developments on privately owned lands within Southeast Medlock. Budget. It was developer-driven. Organizational planning director and CO provide project lead. Timelines, housing construction will be able to start immediately in 2017 or earlier. Sustainability meets multiple success indicators. Our integrated community sustainability plan for compact housing development to reduce sprawl, accessible and affordable housing, attractive building design. Pardon me. Recommendation, staff recommends option 1 that council approve intensive residential development IRD permit number DP 1607 as presented because of the very thorough work that went into preparing the design guidelines on LCAR construction support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We seem to have to go through this often, and when I looked at it, I thought, oh, not again, but I do understand why. Can you tell me where we're at in the process over there of, I know that it's not the type of spot that you can go out and wander around because they're busy putting in pipes and sewer and lights and so on. Is that nearing completion, and are they waiting for a certain period before they can start?
In terms of the subdivision itself, everything is proceeding on schedule, and so they're near completion in terms of the below grade services and near grade services. The one thing which will not be done until next year is the sewer connection, which will go across from Wren to the other side of the road, right? So there's a lift station that takes it to gravity sewers on the other side. And that's taking, I think, a bit longer than was anticipated because of some design issues. So in the meantime, there's going to be some temporary provisions set up for storing sewage from the fire hall within the length of the pipe, which goes along the side of the fire hall, and it'll be pumped out regularly every 2 weeks, so it works equivalent to a holding tank. There won't be any inconveniences from that. In terms of legal surveys, it has been quite an arduous process working with Provincial Highways, who are the subdivision approving officer. They give us the preliminary approval. We have to get final approval from them. I don't think there'd be any problems with that. It's just a question of going through the process. And then the surveyor has already been out there and set up monuments and got everything completed, except that, and this is going to happen this week, he has to accommodate certain refinements into the subdivision plan, reflecting the location of the electrical boxes and the retaining walls. The engineers decided it was better to build those first and then adjust the subdivisions, legal subdivision, after the fact, and it had to be adjusted rather than try to get it right when you're building a 10-foot high retaining wall. It's kind of tricky trying to make sure that it's within 2 inches within our right of way and not within the property owners. So we're well on our way. So everything is going to be in place by this month to start construction. Whether LCAR choose to proceed just before Christmas, I don't know. I doubt it, but I foresee that they'll be on the site in January.
So you said 2017 or before, which I'm assuming you might mean that they could start this month.
And the other thing I'd just like to report on progress is that LCAR have identified the lots which they want to purchase. Okay, so there has to be a sales agreement signed up, but of course, obviously, we can't do that until the legal surveys are completed. Okay. We can make the reference, but that's all going to tie together as well.
Good, thank you. Well, we'll be clapping when that all happens, won't we? Councillor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a question. It sounded like you've met with the developer, and he's kind of content on these guidelines. It doesn't put more cost to a house?
No. Actually, I would say it probably reduces his costs in some cases, but there were some previous drawings which I wasn't happy with, and I think that his architect wasn't entirely pleased with his handiwork either. So it worked out well in the end that, in fact, some adjustments were made, and they look a lot nicer, in my opinion, and hence I think they'll be more marketable, which will be of benefit to the builder himself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Youngberg?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Director Cunningham, thanks a lot for all the work that your department has done for this development, and we are certainly looking forward to seeing some homes built on that subdivision sooner than later. I'd like to make the motion to approve the intensive residential development IRD permit number DP 16-07 as it's been presented.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? That's Councillor King. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, next is the police information check policy. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. It has been practice at the time of hiring to require certain positions to provide a criminal record check as a condition of employment. There has not been consistency at how often these checks are updated, or in the case of returning students, whether they need them each year or not. The attached policy includes all workers handling cash, all community services staff, including staff working at the Sun Bowl Arena and Sonora Community Center, finance department staff, all community services students, bylaw officers, firefighters, and public washroom caretakers. All community services staff, students, and washroom caretakers have been included as they are in direct contact with young children and vulnerable people. The firefighters are included as they at times have access to homes without the owners being present. The others are self-explanatory. The attached policy also addresses how often the police information checks are to be completed, the process on the handling of the record, and any information that may be contained in the record. Implications to the community: none. Organizationally, ensuring the security of the town's assets and reducing possible liabilities. No budget implications or significant dates. And in sustainability, ensuring all staff who deal with finances, assets, or vulnerable people are clear of any criminal wrongdoing. Options: 1, that police information check policy HR-024 be approved. 2, that it be returned to staff for further review. Or 3, that it be abandoned. Staff recommend option 1.
Thank you very much. I have to do a criminal record check on a yearly basis because I'm at the school doing one-to-one reading. So I certainly understand why this is necessary. Councillor Campbell?
Thank you, Member Kordoff. You know, I coached for many years in children's sports, and in the latter years of doing that, every organization I worked with had us do the criminal background check, or did a criminal background check. As much as it seemed like it can be a process to do it, I always appreciated the fact, knowing that whatever activities my kids were in, that specific criminal activity was looked into. This is always a challenging one for me, because I look at the concept of always wanting to give people opportunities after mistakes are made, but when we look at very specific types of crimes that could put the town or put individuals in an area of liability or open to that, I think is always a good thing. So having said all that, I'd like to move option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor King, were you?
Yeah, I just a question. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I kind of read that if they turn 18, they got to have a record check every couple of years. I don't really see how often, say, a senior person has to have a check. Is it every year or every 2 years?
Every 2 years.
So that's what it is.
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes, are you seconding the motion? Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to it? No. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Stand.
Council remuneration and expense paid report. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you. This reports to report on council remuneration and expenses paid for the period of December 2015 to November 2016 as per Bylaw 948. Section 168 of the Community Charter states that at least once a year, a council must have prepared a report separating the listing of the following for each of council members by name: the total amount of remuneration paid to each council member for discharge of office, including any amounts specified as an expense allowance, the total amount of expenses paid for a council member made to the council member as reimbursement for expenses incurred by the council member as an allowance that is not reported under the first paragraph, the total amount of any benefits, including insurance policies and policies for medical and dental services provided to the council member or the member's dependents, and any contracts reported under Section 107, disclosure of contracts with council members and former council members, including a general description of their nature. Implications: adherence to Bylaw 948, Significant dates is to be done once per year. Sustainability, completing required process of the municipality, and the options before council is to receive the information. The recommendation is to receive the attached council remuneration and expense paid report for the period December 1st, 2015 to November 30th, 2016.
Thank you. Do we need a motion to receive this, or? Yes, okay, we do. Okay, and the list is there of the remuneration and expenses paid. Councillor Youngberg.
Well, it's just nice to see that we all get a little bit of money from time to time. Anyways, I'd just like to make the motion to receive the attached council remuneration and expense paid report for the period December 1st, 2015 to November 30th, 2016.
Councillor Rhodes, you need to get out more.
It appears that way, doesn't it?
Yes.
That's what happens when you
Just
stay
being a little
home.
He
frugal.
stays at
That's
home
all.
to take care of the town, that's the
That's
problem. Yeah.
That's
Is there
volunteer.
somebody who would like to second this motion? Thank you. Councillor Campbell, all in favor? Thank you very much. One of the questions that I asked Mr. Zackel was, I seem to be, according to this, being paid more than I thought I was, and he said that it was because the new bylaw went into effect, and we all thought it was going to start on January the 1st. Apparently, it started when the bylaw went into effect, so that's even better. Thank you.
So minimal, none of us knows.
Pardon?
It was so minimal, none of us knows.
Okay, next on the list is the Desert Park Exhibition Society License of Occupation, and that would be Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the November 21st meeting of Council, staff presented a report that included a draft license of occupation for the Desert Park Exhibition Society. No decision was made, and staff met with the society again to explore other options. The society had requested an exemption from the Good Neighbor bylaw. After the meeting with Council in October, staff presented a letter to the society identifying a number of operational issues that needed to be considered in a go-forward service relationship. When staff met with the society in October, we discussed these issues and provided the society a draft license of occupation that addressed these issues. Administration was of the opinion that these clarifications and standards needed to be included in a new license of occupation to assist with overcoming communication issues that have resulted from transitions within the society. Staff met with the society a second time on November 30th, and it was agreed that the original license of occupation enabled the society to renew the license of occupation under the existing terms, and the existing license of occupation captures the spirit of all operational issues identified in the letter. It was also agreed that the letter that identified these operational issues would be kept on file and addressed in operational procedures of the society. The society agreed that they would work with the town to be a good neighbor and to be cognizant of the concerns that were listed. The society provided a letter to the town to renew for an additional 5 years. This was a condition as part of the original license of occupation. In the new agreement, the option of renewing for another term of 5 years was removed. However, there is a clause to renew subject to successful renegotiations of terms and conditions. This was the only change in the new agreement. The society has done a tremendous amount of work at Desert Park, and renewing the license of occupation will be very positive with everybody involved. In terms of implications for the community, the Desert Park Exhibition Society has brought horse racing and other events to the community and have been successful in making improvements to the area. Getting an agreement in place will assist and promote the future of the park and the events to the community. Organizational, staff assisting with the renewal of the license of occupation, and significant dates. The current license expired on November 28th. In terms of options, for council to direct staff to renew the license of occupation for an additional 5-year term as presented above, and that the town signing authorities be authorized to sign the lease. Option number 2, for council to direct staff to renew the license of occupation under different conditions. And option number 3, for council not to renew this agreement at this time. And the recommendation is option number 1. Having an agreement in place and assisting the Desert Park Exhibition Society to be operational is positive. The amount of work and dedication by volunteers are appreciated, and having equestrian events and training facilities at Desert Park is a wonderful asset to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Campbell, Councillor Campbell.
Thanks, Mayor McCordoff. I'd like to move option 1 for council to direct staff to renew the license of occupation for an additional 5-year term as presented above, and that the town signing authority be authorized to sign the lease.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, seconding that. Anybody like to speak to it? I'm just going to say that, I'm glad that we've come to a resolution here, that this has been resolved, and we've certainly looked at several of the issues that were obviously of a concern to some people, some more than others. And now that we sort of all know what's going on and how we can better look after this facility and work together, I think that's just a positive. So, anyone else? Councillor Youngberg?
Yes, thanks, Mayor McCordoff. I'm delighted to see that everybody came to an agreement at the table. I think that's wonderful, and it'll just be great news for Desert Park to negotiate with all the trainers that are waiting with bated breath in Alberta to find out if they're coming or not. So congratulations to everybody that worked on this. I'm really glad to see this extension.
Okay. Ready for the vote then? All in favor of option 1? Thank you very much. That's carried. Next is it acting mayor appointments. That would be Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. Under the Council Procedure Bylaw and Community Charter, Council is required to appoint an acting mayor. In the past, the acting mayor has been appointed on a month-to-month rotating basis beginning in December with the inaugural meeting. Acting mayor appointments must be made by resolution. A recommended 2016-17 schedule is included in the options. Implications to the community leadership is provided in the mayor's absence. There's no organizational implications or budget implications, and sustainability, continuity in leadership. And the following acting mayor appointments are being suggested for 2016-17, and it goes from December to December. And I don't know if you want me to read these out.
Do we have
You
them
can
up
have
here?
them up there,
Yeah, I think they'll. Yeah.
And so staff is recommending option 1, that you make the appointments as stated in here. And I did try to contact all council members to see about their availability during the dates that they are being appointed for.
Thank you. And I see that there's, it doesn't just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, now that we've got them all changed in position, we'd have to rechange that too, wouldn't we? So thank you for doing that and is everybody okay with this? Mm-hmm. Okay, Councillor Rhodes?
You require a resolution?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll move option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor King seconding. All in favor. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And
it shows we have names.
Pardon me?
It shows we have names and not numbers.
Oh yeah, no, don't worry. I know both names and numbers. I'm good. Next is the income statements for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So before Council, the income statements to October 2016 are presented to Council for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena. The accounts to October 31st have been reviewed and are accurately reflected in the attached documents. Highlights for the town of Osoyoos income statement. General fund projected surplus is $195,000. And what we have is under license permits and rentals, we've got a projected surplus of $58,000. Of this, $42,000 is being transferred to the Joint Reserve Fund for the fire protection from OIB and Osoyoos Cottage's capital contributions to fire protection. Under solid waste management, our revenues are $16,300 higher than this time last year, and we've got a projected surplus in this area of $4,000. Development and building services, revenues are $26,400 higher than this time last year. That's a nice trend to see that's happening, but the revenues are projected to be on budget. Return on investments, we got a projected surplus of $120,000, internally financing our fire hall project. Donations projected to be on budget. Land and equipment sales, we're basically projecting this to be on budget, but this is subject to the Richter property and airport lot sales. Community service facility rental. We have a current surplus of $14,900. Our revenues are $17,700 higher than this time last year, and we have a projected surplus of $15,000. Community services under program revenues, current surplus of $20,000. Revenues are slightly down from this time last year, but it's projected to be on budget. Under our operating expenditures, currently our general government expenditures are over budget by $80,700, but it's projected to be on budget at the end of the year. Protective services are under budget by $102,000, and projected surplus is $40,000. Transportation services under budget by $57,000, with a projected surplus of $10,000. Environmental health is under budget by $81,000, projected surplus of $30,000. Public health and community services are both projected to be on budget. Under parks and cultural, currently over budget by $44,500, and we are projecting a deficit of $40,000 in this category. Under our sewer fund, is got a projected surplus of $149,500. Under utility revenues, we got a surplus of $69,500. That's capital contributions that we've received from the Spirit Ridge development. Under expenditures, current surplus of $186,000, with a projected surplus of $80,000 expected. Under water fund, projected surplus is $30,400, with some minor changes in revenues. And in expenditures under water district, we're projecting a surplus of $10,000, and under water operating, we're projecting a surplus of $20,000 because we didn't use the contingency. Under the highlights of Sun Bowl Arena income statement to October 31st, our revenues are $645,900, which are $45,500 higher than in 2015 at this time. Revenues are projected to be on budget. Likewise, expenses of $496,121.91 are $42,200 higher than 2015 at this time. We have a current budget surplus of $149,833, and projected at year end will be this project, or this statement will be on budget. So this is for discussion only, and for council to receive the October 31st, 2016 income statements for the town of Osoyoos and Sun Bowl Arena.
Thank you very much. It's kind of like Greek to me, so I'm glad you know what you're doing, Mr. Zackel. Would you like to move or did you ask a question?
Thank you, Mayor McCardoff. A motion to receive the October 31st, 2016 income statements.
Thank you. That's Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Campbell. All in favor? Thank you very much. Next is the 2017 council meeting schedule. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. Section 127 of the Community Charter requires that a schedule of the date, time, and place of all regular meetings to be held during the year be prepared and made available to the public. In addition, notice of the availability of the schedule must be published annually in the manner required for giving notice, posted on the notice boards in the town office, and printed in 2 editions of the local newspaper. The Community Charter does not establish a specific date for preparing the schedule. However, it is recommended that it be done prior to the end of the year. The first meeting in 2017 would be January 3rd. Since the office is closed between Christmas and New Year, there will not likely be any business ready for discussion at this meeting, and therefore it is being recommended that it be cancelled. Historically, Council has also cancelled 1 meeting in August. It is being recommended that since the first meeting in August will fall on the BC Day Stat and the meeting would be held on Tuesday, August the 8th, that the August 8th meeting be cancelled. Section 3 of Council Procedure Bylaw 1271 states that regular council meetings for the town shall be held on the first and third Monday of each month, unless the Monday is a holiday, in which case the regular council meeting will be held on the day that is not the holiday. If council wishes to cancel the January 2nd and August 8th council meetings, a resolution is required. Implications to the community: clear schedule on council meetings, no organizational or budget implications. Sustainability: regular scheduled meetings. Options: that this January 2nd and August 8th regular council meetings be cancelled and that the 2017 regular council meeting schedule be approved. Or 2, that the January 2nd regular council meeting be cancelled and that the 2017 regular council meeting schedule be approved, or 3, that no meetings be canceled in 2017, and that the council schedule be approved with no cancellations of council meetings. And staff recommend option 1.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
I'll move option 1.
Thank you. Councillor Youngberg seconded that. All in favor? Thank you. Next is the funding for clean water and wastewater fund grant applications. Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So 2 funding applications have made, there's a spelling mistake. 2 funding applications have been made under the Clean Water and Wastewater Fund as per Council's resolution at the October 17th, 2016 regular meeting of Council. Resolutions are required to show that these projects are fully funded. The first grant application is the 2017 Sanitary Sewer Infrastructure Rehabilitation Program. This project is budgeted at $1,020,000, with $846,600 being grant funding and a balance of $173,400 coming from municipal sewer reserves. The second grant application is the Southwest Sector Water Supply Main. This project is budgeted at $983,000, with $815,890 being grant funding and the balance $167,110 coming from water reserves. There is adequate funds available in the water and sewer reserve funds to fund these projects as suggested. A resolution is required for each of the grant applications. Under the implications for community, improvements to water and sewer infrastructure. For budget, funding of $173,400 from sewer reserves and $167,110 from water reserves is required. Significant dates. Council resolutions need to be submitted by December 5th, 2016 to be attached to the grant application. Under sustainability, securing funding for infrastructure projects lessens the burden on the taxpayer. And options before Council. The Council approves to use $173,400 in sewer reserves to fund the municipal portion of the 2017 Sanitary Sewer Infrastructure Rehabilitation Program. Option 2, that Council approves the use of $167,110 in water reserves to fund the municipal portion of the Southwest Sector Water Supply Main. And recommendations before Council is option 1 and option 2, but to do a separate resolution from Council for each of the decisions is required.
Thank you very much. And it looks like they need to be submitted today, so we'd better get on it.
Right.
Okay, Councillor Rhodes.
I'll offer a resolution based on option number 1.
Thank you. Is there seconded? Councillor Youngberg. I don't think this takes a whole ton of, if we can get money from somebody and we need sanitary and water, I think we're in. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. So do we have
I'll make an option 2.
Option 2. Councillor Campbell seconding that for option number 2. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want question.
Yes.
You know, Jim, when the turnaround would be when you would know if you got funding or not?
Sure.
I think there's supposed to be
90 days.
well, there's supposed to be an announcement in January on one program and one in April.
Perfect.
And I think these are for April.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, next is the special and standing committees for 2016-2017. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you again. You can tell it's getting close to year end.
Yeah, right. All these things are coming forward.
Each year, Mayor and Council appoints representatives to special and standing committees. A standing committee of council is established and appointed by the mayor for matters the mayor considers would be better dealt with by committee, and at least half the members of the standing committee must be council members. A select committee of council is established and appointed by council to consider or inquire into a matter and to report its findings and opinion to council. At least one member of a select committee must be a council member. Council reviewed the committee appointments at the Committee of the Whole meeting of November 21st, 2016. Changes were requested to the council representative to the EDAC, which are reflected in the listing below. Direction was also given to staff to determine if all the members of the public appointed to the Restorative Justice Committee were still willing to sit on that committee. Staff have confirmed that Herb Wycherley has requested that he no longer sit on the Restorative Justice Committee. Therefore, council must appoint one other member of the public. The new schedule is shown in the options, and the appointments must now be formally adopted by resolution, with the exception of one member missing from Restorative Justice Committee. Council can make that appointment at a later date. Council appointment to the Okanagan Regional Library Board and RDOS are not included in this listing, as those appointments were made at the November 21st regular open meeting. Implications to the community. The community will benefit from council representation on the various special and standing committees. Nothing organizationally budgeted or no significant dates. And sustainability, appointments should be made as soon as possible in order that the business of the committees can continue with little disruption. And under the options, it's that council make the committee appointments as follows, and then there is a listing, and I think you should go one by one and make each resolution separately.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
That's how you've got it listed? You
Really?
want it separate? No, together?
Never
Okay,
say
we can
never
do it
separate.
together.
Thank you,
Okay.
Fran.
I thought
She's
you had it
talking to her
listed
boss
separately.
over
No,
here.
never separate. No, just,
Okay, you can do it all together.
Do we need to go through and specify
just
each?
name them,
You
maybe.
should
Name
name
them?
them all, yes.
Who should name them?
Well, you can do that. You want me to?
You go right ahead.
Okay.
You wrote the report.
Okay. So for the airport committee, the council representative is Councillor Mike Campbell. For the advisory design panel, Councillor Carol Youngberg, with the members of the public being Roger Horton, Julie Hamilton, Bob Stubbs, Joanne Hebig, and Herb Wycherley, and the staff representatives being Alan Cunningham. Child and Youth Committee, Councillor Carol Youngberg, with members not appointed by council, being Kevin Tulak, Verla Strawn, Lindsay Slobosian, Joan Chambers, Chad Teagan, David Desote, and Hope Mendes. Destination Osoyoos Board, Councillor Jim King, with the alternate being Councillor Carol Youngberg. EDAC, Councillor Jim King, alternate Carol Youngberg, and 3 community members being Len McLean, Bob Roush, and Greg Saul. Highway 3 Coalition, Mayor McCorduff, with the alternate Councillor C.J. Rhodes. Municipal Insurance Association of BC, Councillor Jim King, with the alternate being Councillor Campbell. Community Services Advisory Committee, Councillor Jim King, and alternate Councillor Mike Campbell. The 3 residents of the town are John Kataranchuk, Mal Turner, and Peter Beckett. Restorative Justice Committee, Councillor Jim King, with the members of public being Brian Holgate, Arlene Gregg, and Cheryl Plaskett. And then RCMP Jason Beta has also been put on that committee. School Board Liaison, Councillor Mike Campbell, with alternate Councillor Carol Youngberg. Traffic Safety Committee, Councillor C.J. Rhodes, alternate Councillor Jim King, with Jeff Wiseman being also on that committee, and an RCMP representative, Barry Romanco, Jim Dinwiddie, and Alan Cunningham. Waterfront Steering Committee, Councillor C.J. Rhodes, alternate Councillor Mike Campbell, with Barry Romanco, Alan Cunningham, Gerald Davis, and Terry Underwood. And the Emergency Executive Committee, Councillor Jim King, with Mayor Sue McCordoff, including the RCMP, Fire Chief, BC Health Services, and other department heads as required, with Barry Romanco and myself as the staff representatives.
Thank you very much. So the recommendation is option 1. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. We've obviously discussed this as a council, so I'd like to move option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes is seconding that. All in favor? Thank you very much. And we will look at the restorative justice in the future. Yeah, it's not an active committee at this time, so or it hasn't been, so we have a little time to deal with that. Okay, next is the report from Mr. Romanco. Right?
Yes, this is in relation to the Osoyoos Airport Development Society is making application for grant funding to the BC Air Access Program to assist with upgrades to the airstrip. The Society is making application for 4 projects that will improve airstrip infrastructure. These improvements include runway extension, a $90,000 grant, $30,000 local contribution, apron improvements and site cleanup, $45,000 grant and $15,000 local contribution, runway marking rehabilitation, $15,000 grant and $5,000 local contribution. Perimeter fencing and site cleanup, $60,000 grant and $20,000 local contribution. At this time, the Society is not asking for any funding from the town, and an amount may be asked for in the 2017 budget meeting. The Society is requesting a resolution from Council that supports the group's application for all 4 project grant applications. In terms of implications, community, the project applications will improve infrastructure, safety, and security at the airstrip. Organization, just a time to develop a letter of support, no budget asked amount. Significant dates, December 16th is the grant application deadline. Three options are presented for council. Option 1, the council passes a resolution supporting the Osoyoos Airport Development Society's application to the BC Air Access Program requesting grant assistance for the following projects and grants the Society authority to make these improvements to the Osoyoos Airstrip. And the projects include a runway extension, the airport improvements and site cleanup, runway marking rehabilitation, and perimeter fencing and site cleanup. The second option is the council passes a resolution that supports only a limited number of the projects and identifies those projects. And option 3, the council passes a motion denying the support of the grant application, and the administration recommends option number 1 based on this morning's discussions.
Thank you. I think you've got the 4 projects listed as runway extension, apron, runway marking, and perimeter fencing. I believe that the group was going to put them in a slightly different order, but
I didn't prioritize them.
Yeah. No problem.
I just put them.
Yeah, that's them all together. Okay. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. Recognizing that there's potentially this grant money available and that the town is not at this point making any commitment, I'd like to move option number 1.
Thank you. Councillor Youngberg is seconding that. Anybody like to speak to this? These people came to the committee came to our CAL meeting this morning and made a presentation and talked to all of these. That's where we got the information. But in order to write a letter applying for these, they need the support from the town, which is why this is coming forward today. Okay, all in favor of option 1? Thank you very much. That's carried. Now we're on to general net payroll and Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts, and to report on expenditures from accounts payable for council approval and payroll information for council to receive. So the first one is the general cash requirements of $246,332.13. And there was moved from the Water District batch to general cash from the November 21st council meeting. So that was $23,360. And I'm glad that Mr. Zackel is here. Can you explain how that works before we okay that, please?
Absolutely. So at our November 21st council meeting, our accounts payable clerk had made an error of posting and paying a general invoice under the Water District batch. So what happens is when these reports are generated, the expenses look like they were on the Water District accounts when they were actually on the town general accounts. So that was just a clerical error. So what water councillors did by approving the total less that expenditure was the correct way to go about approving the Water District expenses. To correct this, to get this approved under the general, is to adjust and add it to this meeting now.
Good. Thank you. So adding that on, the $23,000, it now brings total general cash requirements to $269,692.89. And the Sun Bowl cash requirements at $15,909.55. And they can both be adopted by consensus. Am I correct with that? Okay. And net payroll accounts of $74,973.75, and that's received for information. Okay. Next is a notice of motion. Does anybody have a notice of motion? No? Okay. Or maybe that was before. Committee reports. No? CAO report.
Thank you, Mayor McCorduff. A few of the items that the administration has been involved in over the last couple of weeks, starting in community services, just a little bit of a program announcement that the Rocking with Santa event will be happening December 17th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. The winter program registration begins on December 14th, and the winter break camp will run from December 19th to 23rd and 27th to the 30th. Due to the weather, the new start date for the Sonora Community Roof Project will be December 5th. They will have a large crew on site and are planning to be completed prior to year end. We also processed a number of memorial benches, including a bench for the Sir Optimus of Osoyoos group. In corporate services, continuing to work on perfecting the electronic records management system. Freedom of Information Quest, this is ongoing. Working on some unsightly property remedy action reviews. 2 properties are currently being reviewed. And the director attended an emergency management BC webinar on business continuity. In terms of finance, auditors were in on November 28th to perform interim audit. Accounts are being reviewed and a lot of work on budget preparation. In terms of planning and development, they held a conservation fund public information meeting, and they also worked on the reports that were brought to council. Today, Public Works installed the Christmas decorations and the Santa Parade banner on Main Street, trying to keep up with collecting leaves over at Gyro Park. Those big trees, they get bigger, they get more leaves every year. So that's been a challenge. Also installed the new the Gyro Park Phase B renovations plaque on the building there. And reconstructed storm outfall at Gyro Beach, regraded the Strawberry Creek Road, and I have done some hydrant maintenance. In terms of myself, met with Desert Park representatives about the new license of occupation. Also met with provincial lands people to discuss provincial land use in the area and the tenure on our infrastructure. An update on the fire hall. I've just been spending some time dealing with that particular matter. Tomorrow we'll be doing hopefully the last window testing. We've had some issues with leakage in the windows, so the contractor has had to redo the windows, and we'll hopefully do the testing for the last time. The mechanical demonstration is set to occur on Friday, so that's when the contractors will be out and everybody will be out, make sure that everything works. That's a date that's really being looked at, and it's an important date. Friday, the architect will be out also doing the final inspections, and we provided a long list of clean and repairs for Greyback to work on deficiencies, and they've been working on that. The furniture has been ordered, and quite frankly, we're looking next week as for the potential for the occupancy permit to be issued. So if everything goes well on Friday. So that'll be something that we'll all be looking forward to. I had a discussion with the architect today, and he's very happy. He says really in the 30 years that he's worked on projects, this one has gone very, very smoothly. I think that we've got a tremendous product here, and we just have to just get inside of it here probably in the potentially next week if Rick chooses to move in, if everything goes well on Friday.
Good. Well, thank you very much. Could we have a motion to receive the report? Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Youngberg. All in favor? Thank you. So we're now on to council reports. Councillor Youngberg, you're first.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just a few things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. Santa's Night Out on Friday after the light up was just a real success, I think, and there were lots of opportunities with local vendors. And I enjoyed it anyways, and thought the East Indian food was a real nice addition to the event, even though we did have a little taste of it last year, but was much more extensive this year. It was very good. And just really want to wish good luck to Calvin Lanier. He's apparently just in the process of going to Vancouver to see if he can get his problem fixed. His mother was talking to me 2 days ago and just said that, things look really favorable for the young fellow, and we had a big iPad contribution and give him an iPad so he can communicate with all of his school friends at the light up. And so I thank everybody for contributing to the actual iPad draw, because that was a wonderful. Sid Fernandez won it and gave it to Calvin Lanier so he could communicate with all of his school friends. I thought it was a wonderful move on everybody's part. And I'd just like to appeal to everybody at this time, if it's any possibility, when you're using the gyro park and the walkway and you see any events happening, please go on our website and just shoot us an email to give us a heads up on some way that we can help with that problem that does exist in the winter months. I think it would be great and very responsible of all of our users if they can help us in that area. And just remember to shop local. It's a great time. It's Christmas season, and all the Main Street merchants, from my point of view, are really helping to accommodate some of our needs and really inspired about the Christmas season. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. A big shout out and a huge thank you to the Festival Society for all of the events that happened last Friday. Certainly a big thank you to all the merchants in the community that stepped up and made it a real nice, warm and fuzzy event for everybody last Friday night. And I'm going to cut my report off there because I was allowed to rant quite a bit earlier about our washrooms, so I'm kind of out of energy right now, and let the rest of council use the time.
And he needs to get home to see his grandson, who just came to visit from Alberta.
Yes,
so we
right.
get it.
Yep.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. One of the downsides to going third or fourth is a lot of things get covered by the other council reports. But I did attend the school board meeting last week in Oliver, and attended as much as I could of the Christmas activities and festivities over the week and the weekend. And just like Councillor Youngberg had alluded to, you know, from the Festival Society to the local businesses to the individuals that volunteer, there were so many things going on this weekend. It was absolutely incredible. You could go from one thing to another for 3 straight days, and that's just amazing in a small community like this. And everybody, please think about the time it takes to get to Penticton or Kelowna, the gas it takes to get there, and please support those same businesses and shop local. And I assume when you moved the seats around, you moved the gifts around.
The gifts will be distributed on the 21st and not before then.
Okay, we were in council on the 19th.
Oh, 19th, sorry. 19th. We'll do it on the 19th then. Thank you. Councillor King.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the committee itself for the Santa Claus parade. I believe it was well received. The weather turned out nice. In fact, it wasn't really that cold. And if the folks
quite toasty, actually, wasn't it?
Inside the car it was.
And again, the young 2 people in council were able to ride in the car while us old folks kind of walked the streets, but that was okay.
It didn't get a little too warm, though.
But on another note, if the folks in town would like something to do, there's some beautiful trees at Spirit Ridge and Watermark, to name a couple of them. Get out and have a look at the trees and maybe vote for the one that you think's nice.
Good. Well, thank you very much, and that's good. And most of you have covered all the things that I was going to talk about, but I just want to say that I attended the Conservation Fund meeting, the first one that we had since deciding to do this initiative on our own. And I just need to thank Mr. Romanko and Mr. Cunningham for putting on the presentation, and for Bryn White, who came and did it as well. So thank you to them. I attended last week in Penticton. I attended a water security forum. Bob Sanford, who is very well known, apparently has been here before in the Okanagan, talked about water security and how we need to look at climate change and look at using our water wisely and being aware of floods and droughts and everything. And so it just, keeps reinforcing it. And tomorrow I have Okanagan Basin Water Board, where I know we'll be talking about those same issues. Zebra quagga, it seems to be in the news quite a bit. That's one of the issues. And the other one is blue-green algae outbreaks. And Mr. Sanford did talk. I specifically went up and talked to him about those 2 things, and he has a concern. Christmas Light Up. I just want to thank everybody for doing their part in Christmas Light Up and helping out with Breakfast with Santa, with Merchant Open House, the choir Lloyd Fairweather's choir was downtown singing. The school band, under the leadership of Anne Marcelli, was playing at one of the stores. The Rotary had hot dogs and cocoa, and the parade was great. And I know that there were several other things on that night as well. There was a very well attended concert at Frank Venable's Auditorium, South Okanagan Concert Society in Oliver. There was also many things on at Baldy last weekend. So we know people were spread out at various activities, and how nice that we have a choice to go to all of these things. I also went on Saturday morning, because I was the chair of the event. I thought I should go to attend all of these things. I went to Breakfast with Santa and Pictures with Santa. There was a long lineup of kids there, and eating breakfast and getting their pictures taken. So that was a great activity. And then I went to the craft fair, which was at the Legion. Very well attended, put on for the Festival Society by the Kiwanis. So great weekend. I just will tell you right now, for those people who said, oh, I didn't see council in the parade, the problem was they were all looking at the car that Mike bought and not at the rest of us that were actually there supporting Christmas Light Up. And we already have had the lights that were on the car were pretty sick. I know that they needed to go in the garbage, and next year we will redo that a little bit. So congratulations to the Seroptimists, because they got top prize and they spent hours on that float, so they deserve to get top prize. I was at the school board meeting last week as well, and MLA Larson phoned me and said, did I know that there was going to be, that Minister Mike Bernier was going to be at OSS the next day? And I said yes, but I wasn't invited. So she said, meet you there at 10. So I did attend, and he did come. We went through a couple of classes that the new timetable has put in place. The kids were engaged. They were having fun. They were really positive, and it was so nice for Minister Bernier to see what was going on up there, see the success of that high school, and see how the new timetable and all the staff and kids were very engaged and involved. So that was a really positive thing. And we also need to contact MLA Larson. She has a website that she's asking for input on education for rural schools, and so I believe Mr. Romanko's we're gonna have a look at that before January. I'd just like to say also, I've been a member of the Osoyoos Royalty Committee for many, many years, continue to help out occasionally. And recently, two of the key members of that committee, Anne Marcelli and Kathy Basket, have stepped down. And I just want to say thank you to them for well over 10 years of service to this community and to the girls in this community. This, in fact, is probably a very good time for them to do that, if they were going to, because they're just starting to line up some new girls to take on the training for next year. So I would like to say to Anne and Kathy, who've been wonderful volunteers in this community for many years, thank you from the town of Osoyoos, and we certainly have other options for you to get involved with. All you need to do is talk to one of us. And I certainly wish Cara Burton and Marie Lanier and Natasha Schroeder all the best in carrying on the committee, because I'm sure they will do a great job. And I think that's all I had for today. And so enjoy the rest of the day, everybody. And could we have a motion, please, to adjourn the meeting? Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Campbell, all in favor. Thanks, everybody.